Hello everybody. Before I continue with yesterday's object, I would like to show some general things which have got nothing to do with modeling, but have got to do with the appearance of the screen and with customizing the user interface. If you right click on any of those, if you right click on any of these separation areas, you get a little menu which says split area or join. If you split an area, you get this white line. If you press tab, you can switch from horizontal to vertical. If you left click, you get a new window, and on the top left of this window you can say what type of window you would like to have. For example, if you would like to have a Python console, or if you want to have a UV editor or whatsoever. But anyway, in most cases you get pre-configured windows for modeling, sculpting, UV editing, texture painting. Maybe this is an interesting one because we don't have selected a texture. So if you get this funny pink color, it always means something is missing. In this case, it's missing the texture with which we want to paint. Then shading, animation, rendering and scripting. But the one I use most is the layout. And here again, if you right click on this, then you can say join an area, and you see this arrow. The area which the arrow points at will be the one which will disappear when you left click again, like this. So we're back to original. Then the other good thing to know is we have the possibility to toggle the window to full screen. Now the top and the very bottom layer have disappeared, and if you press Ctrl, Alt and Space, then you get even more space in your viewport. And with the T key you can get back the toolbar here, and with the N key you can get the options bar on the right side. But let's go back and I would very much recommend that you go through all these menu items and look at the shortcuts and memorize the ones which you use most. Or you can also add it to your quick favorites. Here we don't have any because we are in object mode. If I tap to edit mode, we have the quick favorites which I added yesterday. Okay, that's one of the things. The next one is, if you have really customized your user interface beyond recognition, you have the possibility to go to File, Defaults and Load Factory Settings, which means you are back at the very beginning. The other thing is, if you, let's assume, I don't like to see the floor, the grid, and I would like to have this as my start page. Then I can go to File, Defaults, Save Startup File here, and if I close Blender now, that doesn't work in full screen mode, sorry. I must go back and toggle this. Now I can close it. And if I start it now, you see the grid has gone, and this is my new startup file. So whenever you change something, doesn't really matter where, you can save this file, and this will be the new default the next time you start Blender. Okay, but let's go back to the model I had yesterday and give it a material and render it. So first I go back to Studio Lighting, and unfortunately Blender doesn't have such a comfortable materials library as MODO has, but there are add-ons which maybe cost a few dollars or are free. There is a free add-on included if you go to the preferences and put in library here, library. Then you get this material library and you can check it, and now there is a little material library available. So if you want to give the entire object the same material, you can do it in object mode. If you want to have several materials, then you must be in edit mode. I will show this. So in edit mode, I select everything first, then click on the materials tab, add a new material and give it a color, maybe something blue. I make it metallic, and have just a little roughness. And if you want to see how this looks, you can click on this button here, the second from the right, and you get an idea of how this will look. Now, another thing is, if I'm in item mode and I add a new object, have a look at this down here. We have 3 objects, none is selected. The 3 are our model and the light and the camera. Okay, now I add plane, S to scale it up by factor of 22. Then I go to the orthographic view. So orthographic is numpad 1 for front, numpad 3 for the side and numpad 7 for top. If you press Ctrl and 1, then it's back, it's left, and it's bottom. Okay, now I move the plane, so G along the Z axis, Shift to have a better control, and put it to here. And now you see we have 4 objects. The plane is number 4. If I would have added the plane in edit mode, we would have still 3 objects, because in edit mode, if you add something, also with Shift A, it is part of the already existing object. So that's sometimes what we want, and sometimes we want to have different objects. That's a bit of a question of experience. Okay, now I select the plane. You see here in the scene collection it's highlighted, and also give it the material, so a new material, and give it some base color, make it maybe dark green. Or what I also could do, I could scroll down, and you see, since I selected this library in the preferences, I have this new section here, and I can select a library here, cycles materials. Cycles, by the way, is one of the renders we have. We have 3 different ones. I don't really know what this workbench one is for, but Divi is a real-time renderer, as you might know it from Unity or Unreal editor. And if I, for example, select this light and grab it and move it around, you see that shadows and reflections are calculated in real time. Now, the other renderer is Cycles, which is a ray trace engine. By the way, we have to enable this icon here to get the view from the renderer's view. And if I, for example, press the numpad 0 key, I see what I can see through the camera. And if I press the N key, go to view, and then select lock camera to view, and now I can also add this to quick favorites, so I don't have to click 3 times in the future. Now everything I do is from the viewpoint of the camera. I can select a nice view, and for example I can also select the plane again, go to the Materials tab, scroll down to the very bottom, and now I see the Cycles materials which we have added just at the beginning of the video, and I can use polished ceramic, for example, and activate this material. And now you see we have some reflections, we see the shadows, we can also change the lighting. Anyway, And what I do next is on the output tab here, I change this to 66%, which is exactly what we need for a YouTube thumbnail. Next we have to enable another preference in the Systems tab, and it is called CUDA, which means I can render on my graphic cards. You see, I have twin 1080. You can also say graphics card and CPU. I will show you the difference later. The graphics rendering is so much faster that I don't enable the CPU. Okay, now I have this, and if I render this now with the cycles engine, and I say I put this up to 512, and the device is the GPU, and when I press F12 now, it will render. And you see, this is only GPU rendering. I show you the difference to CPU rendering, so F12 again. And you see on the CPU, even I have pretty overclocked CPUs, it's a lot slower. So GPU is the way to go. F12. And if you want to save this image, you can save, and I call it tutorial02.png. Okay, that's it. Take care and see you some other time. Bye bye.